Well, I'm officially back from the Las Vegas Open, and beyond other things going on in my personal life that are a bit more obvious, the post-trip blues are in full effect. And it's for good reason. This was a very, very fun trip. Possibly one of the best ones I've ever had in my entire life. If you're not aware, I went out with a group of friends, this being Mr. Bones 40K, Crackduck, Pancreas No Work, my good friend and editor Linky, as well as another friend named Dungeons and Dinos who's an up-and-coming YouTuber. And the best part is this was my first ever wargaming event that I've ever been to. So to have such a packed house, to have such a wonderful community to show up, the amount of people that were there, the amount of things to do, the amount of things to see, it really, really warmed my heart to see how far miniature painting has come from the time that I started. Granted, I've been doing this 10 years, which honestly is kind of a short amount of time in the grand scheme of things. But I think it's hard to argue that the last 10 years have been more revolutionary to the miniature painting scene and the hobby as a whole than almost the entire lifespan of the hobby. And I think the diversity of games that showed up to this year's event is a good example of that. Nah, there wasn't a core booth, but I think that's something we can work in next year. Hopefully. But something that I think was really cool about the event itself is that there was no shortage of things to do. Some things in which I kinda regret not doing, but I do plan on going to next year. There was some interesting miniature painting competitions and speed painting. Crackduck actually painted some really cool miniatures for this. The Army Painter booth was awesome. I actually got to meet Uncle Adam, and I also got to meet Sam Lenz, who, very big personal inspiration for me, even though he does lick his brushes. He gets the pass, he looks funny doing it. But another really cool thing that happened during the event is I really got to actually play some more games, and I'm really not much of a gamer if you're familiar with my content. We also hit up some pretty cool local game stores while we were in the area, and one of my favorites was the War Room. Super cool place. We played a ton of core, they had some great terrain, and I actually got to get some cool shots in, and no, I didn't record a battle report. I didn't really want to record a battle report in the middle of a gaming store. But with my growing interest in now playing war games, maybe I'll have to do that for you guys sometime. Also, Crackduck taught me how to play a little bit of Kill Team. That was super fun. But additionally, one of the biggest things that I think you guys might be interested for the trip is the insane haul that I got. Yeah, my temptation and self-control kind of went out the window on this trip, and I got way more than I probably should have, but I use it for my job, so, you know. I actually got a lot of Age of Sigmar stuff and a lot of fantasy stuff. There was definitely no creative influence from the people in the room that were playing a lot of Old World in front of me, but, well, not directly, I actually just saw it and I thought it looked cool. There's like one video on the channel that actually has anything to do with Age of Sigmar or fantasy, and that was a conversion to Age of Sigmar 240K, so doing a little bit of actual fantasy stuff on the channel seems like a fun idea. There was also a really, really cool miniatures bazaar in the actual building, and I got some really cool stuff there. I got a bunch of bits, I got a bunch of old minis for a really good price. Some things I'm definitely not sharing in this video as I do want to show it on stream and to keep some of it as a surprise for you guys for future videos. But you know, it was pretty good. Now undoubtedly the biggest thing that a lot of people are probably interested in my opinion or whatever, is the huge Games Workshop model reveals for Fantasy, for Old World, and of course 40K. The reveal itself I didn't actually film because we were asked not to, which really doesn't make any sense because they revealed it like 2 hours later. And another thing I do want to mention is they actually ended up cutting some of the stuff that they were going to reveal at the event for the next day. The reveal for the Horus Heresy models was just completely bereft of the event at all, which I don't really know why. And additionally, it was really strange because they ended up actually cutting them off the banner on the website from the reveal silhouettes. But on the good things that they did reveal, the actual miniatures were utterly stellar. The new models for Age of Sigmar were so cool. Because of my interest in Age of Sigmar, the Soulblight Gravelords really did throw a monkey wrench into my ideas and plans for what I wanted to do. Because I wanted to do Night Goblins, I got some Skaven stuff. But these guys are so sick, and it's really cool to see these guys actually have their own official army now. Though I'm not nearly as well versed in the fantasy setting as I am with 40K, it really is cool to see an army that really does deserve their own stand-in to actually get a little bit more love. The paint job was just utterly superb, so yeah, I gotta give credit where credit's due. Prince Vordry, at the same time, I didn't really understand how big this model was until they actually mentioned the base size. 160. I know there are other models in the range that actually have this base size, but to give you a comparison, as Pancreas No Work mentioned, the Great and Clean one is on a 130mm base. Big boy. Mighty big boy. But the next models I want to mention are the Black Library exclusive set, the Command Force. I don't know anything about these characters, but the models are really interesting. There's some that I don't really care for, there's some that are kind of generic, so I don't really understand the lore appeal to it, and no offense to them. But the Commissar with the Power Axe, which is a very interesting setup, I've never seen a Commissar with that. Great figure, the posing is excellent. I really like the lady with the volley gun. There's a lot of kitbashing potential there because she's a blank canvas and the paintwork is so good. Gotta say, between the three models that I really like from this set, my favorite has to be the Standard Bearer. I love the Holy Inquisition fatigues, great look overall, and like I said, this would be a great stand-in if you want to mix things up. They also had an Age of Sigmar one. I don't really know this character at all, but she looks pretty cool. Now, the next thing that I really want to mention is the old world stuff. I'm not much of an elves guy. Did a really good job with these. These look so cool. The lions are so well sculpted. The models look so good. They have this great paintwork. The armor is incredible. The miniatures really do stand out well. The work on the shields was really, really eye-catching. And again, I'm not really much of an elves enjoyer, but I do have to say this really did catch my eye, which is saying something. So I have to give credit where credit's due. I really do love the old world stuff because it has that classic kind of squat nature to the models and their design philosophy. So everything does stand out more to me in a way that I really do like. And I'm always going to be a sucker for a cool classic, fantasy red dragon. That model is so cool. And I have to say, the paintwork was just so superb on this entire release. The freehanding really did make these models stand out. My favorite has to be the Lord of Shrace. I might pick this guy up at some point. I really should stop saying that. I really gotta stop getting into that mindset. I gotta stop it now. Because the next reveal was for the Ashwaste Nomads, and they are one of my favorite teams in all of Necromunda. I love their design philosophy. I really want to do something with combining them with Kroot. So, yeah, was really tempting. I do like the terrain stuff. I'm not so much interested in GW terrain. No offense to them, it's not bad by any means, in my eyes at least. Just not something that I ever really plan on picking up. They did a good job of really taking to the original designs that they had planned out for the original box and adding upon them. The bone armor is a great addition. I really like that each model has a different body type too, which actually makes them look like human beings, which is something that Necromunda and Age of Sigmar have been doing really well in the past few years, but 40k has been kind of lacking on in terms of basic infantry. Also, another thing I wanted to mention for the old world stuff, super excited for the Beastmen, and for my buddy Brass, who was a big inspiration for the old school series. I'm really happy that he's finally getting his Wood Elves. But now it's time that we talk about the models that you've all been waiting for. Yeah, I'm gonna act a fool and get the 230 box, I don't care. I've seen a lot of people complaining about the new Noise Marines, which I do understand. The Sonic Blasters are definitely different in comparison to the older designs. There's a lot of little differences that make up a lot of big differences, so I can understand why people are not the biggest fan of them. Maybe this is a stretch, and I don't know, maybe you can tell me in the comments how you feel about it. I think painting them white was kind of a weird idea, because that is definitely a major difference compared to what we're used to in terms of the art. We're kind of used to that brassy gold color, and I think it is important to keep a lot of the older elements of what made the army great intact, but that's something that I think they did a really good job with overall, and I think the Noise Marines are an exception. I'm just not nearly as annoyed because I like the new designs. While the Slaanesh Marines and Emperor's Children Marines have a lot of art direction to go off of from older stuff, I would argue pretty confidently that the Khorne Berserkers, the Plague Marines, and the Rubric Marines have way more of a defined art style compared to Emperor's Children, which on the same note gave them a lot of things to work with to make these guys really stand out. And they did just that. They really did make the Cenobite Marine art style come to life. I have to say, too, I hate Lucius the Eternal, but goddamn did they do a good job with this model. I don't really like the cone heads, though. They kind of freak me out. But yeah, overall, I think the paint job, the design, the leather straps, everything just really screams Slaanesh, and they kind of knocked it out of the park in my eyes. I understand why people are criticizing it, but I like it. And you can bet your ass that I'm going to make a lot of content out of it, because I've painted a lot of Empress Children stuff on this channel. I'm going to stop talking like this now. Anyway, I'm also just a really big fan of the overall design of a lot of these guys, basically just being chaotic beakies. Another thing I love too, they didn't go excessive with the trim. Wow, that's really ironic. I think the coolest thing with this new set is I finally see something from GW for the first time in a while that I really want to get my mitts on, because personally it's been a while since I've really felt that buzz from GW. But also just a quick little run through the things that they didn't show at the thing at LVO. Just want to say the new Beastman model looks really cool. I know he's an actual character, I don't really know much about him, but really dig him. I also like the little freak that he has beside him. Hello! The new Death Guard mini is just spectacular in my opinion. This is what I've been wanting for Death Guard. Less nasty noodles, more of the nasty rot guy. Also, that big-ass sword is making me go... And the Thanatar Calyx is, I mean, I like all of these things, so yeah, I'm a fan. I don't really want to build one because I had to listen to Mr. Bones build one and he almost died, so yeah. But as a little bit of a parting and wrapping up of the video, I do want to mention one more time and kind of go into a little bit more of a nitty-gritty depth on the trip itself. For everybody involved that I went with, it wasn't just a bunch of creators, we are genuine friends, and that was really cool to me. It was a very special trip to me, and I will remember this forever. This is the most fun I've had in a long time. This is the first real big event I've gone with, and I'm so lucky to have such good friends that I could have gone with. And I can tell you, I definitely want to do it again. There is no way in hell I'm missing next year. I am going to be there, and maybe I can convince Mr. Quor or maybe Wargames Atlantic to set up a booth there, and you can yell at me or throw things at me. But I've definitely been flapping my beak enough for one video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, share it with a friend, and remember to mishmash, kitbash, and paint some fantastic miniatures. And you're gonna. I promise. See ya.